is Wednesday. It's March 18th today. Welcome to practice. It's really good to see you. It's good to be with you. I've heard back from some of you who've been participating in the classes and others who have just checked in. So it's good to stay close with you, and thank you for being in touch. We appreciate you. So this morning, just while I'm chatting away for a moment, you might want to gather some props for your class. This class will be leaning more toward the yin style of practice. And so I need you to have 2 blankets. If you have a yoga block, you could get one. Go grab it. And you're going to need something like a belt. A canvas belt would be best, or a yoga belt, or a TheraBand, exercise band, not one that's circular, but one that's long and that you can use the length of it. And if you have a yoga block, you could go and grab that. So Ben got up this morning and he's gone out for a run. Otherwise, he's been working from home. And of course, Ziggy, I left him in bed while I got ready for the video, and I heard his little cries just a moment ago before I was ready to come on here with you. So he's ready to be here with us as well. Morning is usually his sleepy time. We're a little bit out of our normal routine, as you all are. I hope you're well. Robyn has been keeping in touch with me, and she is friends with Sherry Fitch, who I'm sure that most of you know as a local author. And so she's been sending me these poems that Sherry Fitch has been posting, not all written by her, but poems that have been in her heart and inspired her. So I just would like for you to know that when I read you a poem today, it's one that Robyn has shared with me, and thank you for that, Robyn. If you're looking for a more vigorous practice today, a couple of things you might consider. Lee is doing daily Pilates classes from her Energy in Motion Facebook page. You could check in on that. And also, if you want to try something new, Brittany of Jungle House Dance Company, she put up a video on YouTube last night. I'm sure if you look up Jungle House Dance Studio on Facebook, you'd be able to find it. It wasn't a dance, just disclaimer for anybody who's not comfortable with that. However, it was a movement practice and it looked lovely. I didn't have an opportunity to do it yesterday, but there are 2 local people right here in Fredericton that are bringing some of their content online. So what a pretty awesome opportunity to meet some new practitioners that maybe you haven't worked with before. So I'll just leave that with you. I hope that you are well. I would like to nourish the lungs a little bit in this practice, so you'll notice that some of the movements that we do and the poses, the shapes that we hold are connected to that. If you are new to the yin style of practice, what you need to know is that every shape that we come to can be adapted to you. So at one time, maybe we didn't use props in a yin style practice, but I encourage you strongly to use your props. So in a shape where we're not using both blankets, if your knee is lifted up off of the floor, snuggle your blanket in under the knee. Bring the floor up to you, okay? I think that this is an especially important concept in this time. We are held by feeling support, and you will still reap the benefit of the practice. I would argue even more when you're bringing the props up to meet you, rather than hanging out in space and wishing that you had more depth and your knee could touch the floor, whatever the case may be, okay? So be good to your body, be good to yourself, If anything isn't feeling right in your body, skip it. Always opportunities for an extra shavasana. If you've been practicing yin yoga for a long time, I'm sure you know many other poses that you could take that would feel good in your body today. So always honor yourself. I am with you, and I am really excited to be here so that we can ground into our day together. Starting our day with this practice, ending our day with this practice is rich. You have tools, and they can help to support you through this time. So let's use them. My final recommendation is that if your mind is just feeling extremely busy lately, and you know that being still is going to amplify your thoughts, give yourself grace for that right away. I'll cue you with coming back to your breath and sensation in your body. But if you absolutely want to have some music on in the background, pick something from, Spotify or the app Yogi Tunes that has no lyrics. Choose something that's soft and gentle, but let the lyrics be away from this practice. Okay. It's edgy to feel what's going on inside, but this is so important for your well-being. So let's begin. Okay. Let's start with a little breathing practice. You're going to want to be seated. I'm sitting up on my bolster. I have a block under one knee to give myself a little bit of extra support. You do what you need to do to be comfortable here. You could even sit kneeling. That would be a fine option as well. We'll move into alternate nostril breathing to begin. So bring your right hand up, index and middle finger to the center of your forehead. Connect your thumb with your right nostril. Inhale through the left nostril. Close the left nostril, open the right, breathe out through the right nostril. Inhale through the right. Close the right, open the left, breathe out through the left. Breathe in left, close the left. Exhale right. Inhale right. Exhale left. Inhale 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 left. Exhale right. Inhale right. Exhale left. Continue for several more rounds. Option, if you're finding a rhythm here and the breath is feeling quite comfortable, when you reach the top of your breath, you might pause just slightly. Same thing at the bottom of your exhale, you may pause just slightly. Anything else going on in your home right now? See if you can attune and let yourself recognize that as background noise. Just like when you're at the studio and the cars passing by outside of the studio are heard within, or the air vents, anything going on in your home. Seeing if you can let that be in the background and sustain your awareness with your breath. Let's finish up in the next cycle or two. You'll know that you're complete after you've exhaled through the left nostril. And then release the right arm down. Breathing equally through both nostrils. And letting yourself be the witness to any residue felt in the mind or the body or the heart. And then when you're ready, go ahead and blink open your eyes. Guide your hands together at the center of your heart space. And you may wish to set a personal intention for your practice today. Invite it to be in the affirmative, perhaps in an I am statement. Breathe in and you repeat your intention in your mind's eye. And let it go. Breathe it out. Send it out to the universe. Lower your hands down. We're going to prepare to shift to our first yin shape. So what I'm going to recommend is that you have your 2 blankets handy. If you're using a bolster, that might come in handy as well. So you're going to create a pillow. I'm going to use a block with a blanket over top of it. I think that you might like to have a little bit extra height. So if you are using a single blanket as your prop, then just make sure that you folded it up in a way that you can, snuggle it in and get extra cushioning alongside your ear and your neck. Okay, we're moving into a side opening shape. So with your second blanket, I would love to have you roll the blanket until you get a round bolster-like shape. It's good that it's not the full size of a bolster, and even if you're using a larger blanket and it is bigger than a bolster, it won't be as compressed. So good chance that it's going to give the right amount of sensation that will be comfortable for you while you're here. Good. So you're going to come down onto one side. If you still have a prop left, if you have a bolster at your house, or if you have another blanket or a pillow handy, that might go right between your knees and your ankles. That's optional, but for some, it helps to relieve a little bit of stress over the low back. So we have this blanket roll in underneath the rib cage, lifting the bottom ribs slightly, and it's going to give a little bit of nice feedback and opening through the intercostal muscles. Good. So some of us may feel comfortable with the top arm resting alongside the side waist, or maybe catching the blanket down near our chest, Or if you want to open and expand a little bit more into the shape, you could raise the arm up and overhead. You could just let the elbow bend and the bicep drape over the ear. You can play with that and notice how it feels alongside the upper rib cage, the side body, and even in through the shoulder, just monitoring all sensation. Okay, and find a place where you can pause and be here for a couple of moments. As we settle in, I would love for you to breathe into the exposed rib cage and breathe out. With each breath in, sense the ribs slightly expanding. Be aware of that upper lung, filling with your breath, massaging and expanding out into the intercostal muscles in between the ribs. And begin to tune in with your breath. And the magic of the yin practice is time. So we give ourselves space and moments here to allow the fascia, the tissues, to have a little bit more space to unwind as we rest in stillness in what Bernie Clark calls a Goldilocks position. So that's where we feel sensation, but it's not too sensational. Good. And it's also enough sensation. You'll know it's enough when you're feeling that subtle stretch in between the ribs. While at the same time you're not feeling pinching or numbness or tingling or sharp sensation or pain. Hear the little whistle of your breath moving in and out through the nostrils if that's possible. And notice which areas in your body could become passive. So what bones and tissues and body parts are holding tension that don't need to be involved in this shape at this time? And can you let them go? Try that for about 5 more breaths. And if your arm is extended and resting on your head, On your next in-breath, slowly reach the arm up to the sky and then lower the arm back down. Breathe here, and we're going to allow the transition to be super slow. So we've started that transition from kind of our external experience to moving inward through our alternate nostril breath, and now this first side lying position. So we're going to keep that internal awareness throughout our practice. You always have the option to even keep your eyes closed to support that inward journey. And when you rise to seated, you could find a cross-legged position for a moment and breathe into the rib cage. Breathe into the right side of the rib cage, the left side of the rib cage. And sense the rebound. And the rebound is the residue of what's sitting with us, following a shape. Do you notice a difference in the felt sense of openness between your right and left sides now? Good. And when you're ready, blink open your eyes. You've already done what you need to do to move to the second side of this shape. So you can simply roll to the other side of your mat, keep the props exactly where they are. I'm going to demo on this side again just so you can see the front side of the position here, but you're going to want to lie on the other side of your rib cage now. Good. So you're going to make your way down and rest the rib cage onto your blanket. If you've got a high enough position from your rolled blanket and your headrest, the bottom arm's just going to float. So you could dangle the fingertips out from the side of your mat. Option to stack the knees or put another support, a pillow or a bolster or a blanket between the knees and the ankles. And then give yourself support through your headrest. Land here for a moment. Take a few breaths. See how that feels. Good, and then find an optimal position for the upper arm, which might be resting alongside the side body and the hip, or you might raise that arm up and overhead, resting the bicep on the ear. Good, and start to breathe fully for a few cycles of breath into the upper rib cage. Sense the expansion of your lungs. Feel the depth of your breath moving into your lungs. Maybe even allow your eyes to close. And while you are here, I'm going to share with you the poem that Robyn shared with me. So this was posted by Sherry Fitch. However, the poem was written by Naomi Shihab Nye, and it's called Kindness. Before you know what kindness really is, you must lose things. Feel the future dissolve in a moment, like salt in a weakened broth. What you held in your hand, what you counted and carefully saved, all this must go, so you know how desolate the landscape can be between the regions of kindness. How you ride and ride, thinking a bus will never stop, The passengers eating maize and chicken will stare out the window forever. Before you learn the tender gravity of kindness, you must travel where the Indian in a white poncho lies dead by the side of the road. You must see how this could be you, how he too was someone who journeyed through the night with plans and the simple breath that kept him alive. Before you know kindness as the deepest thing inside, you must know sorrow as the deepest thing. You must wake up with sorrow. You must speak to it till your voice catches the thread of all sorrows and you see the size of the cloth. Then it is only kindness that makes sense anymore. Only kindness that ties your shoes and sends you out into the day to mail letters and purchase bread. Only kindness that raises its head from the crowd of the world to say, "It is I you have been looking for," and then goes with you everywhere like a shadow or a friend. Continuing to receive this shape. To witness your breath. And to absorb anything that lands with you from Naomi's poem, Kindness. Let's ease into about 5 more cycles of breath here. And if the top arm has been extended, resting over the side of your head, on your next in-breath, gently lift and rise the arm up, releasing it back down toward the side body. Sustain your inner awareness, and as you're ready, you could slowly begin to rise to a seated position. Sensing the left and right sides of your rib cage. Inviting your breath into the sides of your lungs. Feeling the residue from the previous 2 shapes. you blink open your eyes. How are we doing? Okay, let's move into an elevated chest pose. So if you created a bolster, or you have a bolster, we'll use that now. Alternately, you could use your 2 rolled blankets. I'll show that variation first. If you've been practicing with me for a while, you'll already be set with the elevated chest with a bolster if you have those props with you, so you can go ahead and get settled. So the blanket rolls that you just used underneath your rib cage, you're going to take that lengthwise on the mat now, and the back of the blanket is going to rest where you want your head to be. And then I'm going to recommend that you take a second blanket and you're going to use that as a headrest just to elevate and support the head and neck a little bit when you come down. I would also invite you, if you have a pillow or another blanket or a bolster handy, you could use one under your knees as well for this shape. That's optional. Okay, I'll give you a couple options for the legs when we arrive here. So you're going to come up to the end of your blanket and slowly let the spine come down. If you have a ponytail in, you probably want to remove it. Okay, we're going to let the length of the spine land on the center of the bolster of the blanket. And then I want you to feel where your pillow blanket is. Grab the outside edges of the pillow blanket and roll them under and just kind of snuggle them in against the sides of your neck and your head. So you're going to make sure that that second blanket is pulled down to the top of your shoulders so you can get really stabilized and supported through the sides of the neck. Okay, so legs could be fully extended, option 1. Over the bolster or not over the bolster. Option 2 could be to move the legs into a butterfly shape with or without the bolster. That's going to be up to you, okay? You might want to raise your hips and just draw the pelvis down towards your feet slightly to lengthen the spine. If you have any props left and you wish to, you could support the arms by snuggling a blanket or pillows in underneath the arms. But part of the reason for doing this shape is to receive a heart opening through the chest, through the collarbones, through the front of the rib cage in this position. So having the arms dangling and the shoulders, reaching back into space a little bit, we can allow for that here to give us a little bit more feedback in this chest area. So every other part of the body is supported and we'll be a little bit more open here. Settling in. Good, and just recognizing from the throat to the pelvic floor, any areas that you feel like you're holding or constricting. So we'll do a little bit of breath practice to move ourselves down the trunk and just consciously release any tension in these areas. Inhaling into the throat, the collarbones. Exhale, sigh your breath. Inhale from the sternum across the front of the ribs. Exhale, sigh the breath. Inhale at the base of the sternum across the lowest ribs. Exhale through the mouth. Inhale across the abdomen from the belly button expanding outward. Exhale, soften, breathe out through the mouth. And then the space below the belly button to the pelvic floor, in between the front rib points, breathe in fully. Exhale, sigh. And then all the way from the throat to the pelvic floor, big breath of expansion in. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Breathe in fully. Exhale, sigh out the mouth last time. return to nostril breathing if that's available. And for the next couple of moments, just give yourself permission to be held. Release the weight of your body into whatever support it's connected to. For this time, giving yourself permission to receive nourishment from these shapes, from the support of being in community with other yogis who are looking for the same state of being, compassion, and sense of oneness as you, sense of connection and wholeness. In times when the typical things that we identify ourselves and our lives with might seem like they're hanging by a thread. But I ask to you, what is eternal? At the core of your being, what is everlasting for you? Beyond the identity that we hold, connected to our job, the positions that we hold within our community, our family, the outreach that we do, the things that we've acquired, the things that we're longing for. When all of that is dissolving and hanging by a thread, who are you? What is eternal? What can you sense as everlasting? There is no right or wrong answer. Search within your heart. The heart cracking open, and the vastness of your true being becomes illuminated. And with this, you are never alone. And 5 more breaths here. I'm sensing that some of you may be compelled to rest here a while longer, and if you need that, please honor your body and stay. Otherwise, if you're ready to soon transition, in whatever position the legs are in, we're going to start to bring the heels back in toward the sit bones and remove any support that you took under your knees. And then you can go ahead and gently take a moment and roll through to one side. We've been here for several minutes, so just let yourself be in this sideline orientation for a few breaths, 4 or 5 breaths. And then you can take one hand down onto your mat and slowly rise up. We're going to make our way to our hands and knees. And if you need a little bit of extra support, if you're working on a hard surface, you might want to put a blanket underneath your knees to give you a little bit extra cushioning. And this is where we're going to use the strap or the band or the belt, whatever you've brought with you to your practice today. And we're going to feel into the back body as we breathe. So I'd love for you to bring whatever you're using across your low back. And then we're going to bring the band or the belt all the way down to the floor. And you don't have to expect that this is going to stay in perfect position. And really, that's not the point. I just want you to feel a little bit of feedback from the belt into the low back, and that's where we're going to focus a little baby cat-cow. So rather than flossing through the whole spine, at this moment, you could hold one or both hands underneath the belt or the band, whatever's going to work for you here. And then we're just going to push the low back up into the band and then gently release. So if this is challenging and you're really used to doing that whole cat-cow, then maybe focus on just the movement through the pelvis. So think about tucking the tail down, rolling the sit bones behind you, and just feeling that little press up into the band from the low back. And then think about tilting the tail, rolling the sit bones back and up, and getting a little arch in the low back. And float through those 2 movements several times and see if you can sense a little bit of sensation coming from your band or your strap, whatever you're using. I know it's sliding a little bit, but it's going to be valuable practice for you either way. I notice in myself that I really concentrate in the sensation right along the center of the spine, but I find that the band or the belt will always give me that little bit of extra feedback, feeling the movement across the sides of the spine and wrapping around the side of the waist as well. So this is an interesting experiment. And even just simply isolating the movement can be challenging, but feels so valuable. Okay, when that feels complete for you, bring the strap or the band up over the back of the rib cage. So thinking we're still below the shoulders, but we're in like the mid-back, low rib cage area. Okay, same thing. You can catch the band underneath your hands, and we're just going to push that mid-back up into the band and then soften the rib cage down toward the floor. And to be perfectly honest, I find this part more challenging. Okay, to isolate the rib cage, press through the back of the heart, press the ribs into the band. Maybe feeling your breath cycle with movements. And let this be an embodied experience. We'll try 2 more. Hips and shoulders, arms as much as possible, staying in the same position. That mid-back area working into your band or your belt. Good. Okay. Last variation, we're going to slide the belt or the band up over the shoulders. I keep it under the armpits so that it's not going to slide out completely. And we're working in the upper thoracic, the heart area now. You can get into the neck a little bit if you like. So holding your band or your belt, soften your heart, squeeze your shoulder blades toward each other to get that nice opening through the chest. And then press through the hands, lengthen the arms, protract the shoulders, draw them around the sides of the rib cage. Good, pressing up into the band or the strap, and then softening the heart back in. Good, so the pelvis is fairly stable, the rib cage is fairly stable. Those parts of the spine are in their neutral alignment. We're isolating the upper spine now. 3 or 4 more. Sitting back toward the heels, removing your band or your strap off to the side, and we're going to prepare for our final shape before we take our final relaxation pose. We're moving into child's pose. A couple of options for you. So if you're not familiar with child's pose, in yin we often bring the big toes together to touch the knees wide. We sit back toward the heels, walk the arms forward, and release the forehead. I'm going to show you a couple of variations for this to support you. If you're not needing any of these supports and you know this pose and you know the way that you want to take the pose, then go ahead and make your way there to settle in. Okay, For some, if you have a smaller blanket and you have tightness over the top of the feet and the ankles, a nice place to put this blanket is just under the tops of the feet. So that could be one place where you add a little bit of extra support. Okay, you might take that a little bit tighter. If you had a second blanket or a bolster, and you know that sitting back toward the heels is uncomfortable, then you might bring this blanket in and snuggle it in toward the back of your knees. And this just helps to create a little bit extra space in your body to support the shape. So same thing, knees wide, big toes touch, sitting back toward the heels. Don't worry if your sit bones don't touch your heels. That's not a big deal. Walk your hands forward, release your forehead. If the forehead doesn't come to the mat, that's fine. We have props. You could use your block to support the forehead. You could stack your hands one on top of the other, or you could make fists and stack your fists, rest your forehead on your fists. So there's a couple of options for you to explore. And we'll be here for a moment or two. If you're feeling cool, cover up with a blanket. Give yourself permission to support your entire system with whatever it needs right now. As you breathe in, feel the breath. Imagine it moving in through the crown of the head, making its way down your neck, between your shoulders, down the mid-back, low back, all the way to the tailbone. And imagine the out-breath traveling the whole way up from the tail, out through the crown of the head. Repeat that exercise of awareness a few more times as you travel the pathway of the breath down and up the spine. You might also sense that outward direction of the breath. So moving down the spine and expanding toward the sides of your body on the inhale, and on the exhale moving up the spine and contracting in toward the center of the spine on the exhale. And then sense the back of your body melting from the spine around the sides of the rib cage. And then bring your awareness to your abdomen and the internal organs. Let everything soften. Breathe fully into the front side of the torso. Feeling a felt sense of spaciousness here. And let's stay for about 5 more breaths. And gently walk your hands in. Push all the way up toward your table pose. And then shift your body into a comfortable seat. I encourage you to sit up on your bolster or a blanket, or in any other way that works for you. You might even take the legs out long in front of you. Good. I'll just release everything out for a moment. Maybe massage over the legs or anywhere else on your body. Give your legs a little wiggle. Maybe windshield wipering the knees would feel good. You can decide. We'll take a moment here. You might feel really compelled to just be in stillness. So give yourself permission to do what you need for your body in this moment. Okay, I'm going to show you a setup for supported Shavasana. This will be our last pose of our practice, and I would love for you to take your smaller blanket and give it a little roll. It may not all need to be rolled up, so I have a little flip at the end that I'm not going to need here. It's going to elevate the ankles, so we want this roll to be a little bit smaller than our bolster or our second rolled blanket, okay? So if you're using a blanket, that same roll that you used for our first posture, the ribcage opener, you could use under your knees, or if you happen to have a bolster, then go ahead and slide that under your knees. The ankles, the back of the ankles will rest on your blanket roll. Your final blanket could be used for warmth or for a pillow. If you're going to use a blanket for a pillow, I've got it about the width of like a king size pillow, the length, of a king size pillow. That could be useful for the way I'm going to show you to bring the support of your pillow into the sides of your neck and head. And a regular pillow will work just fine. If you need to go grab a blanket, if your body temperature is dropped, which it often does during your yin practice, then go ahead and make your way there. Otherwise, come down onto your back, readjust your blanket underneath your head again so that it's underneath your head and your neck, snuggled right up to the top of your shoulders. Good. And then you're going to bring your hands to the top of your blanket, curl the blanket under, and snuggle the blanket into the sides of your neck and the sides of your head. And you could even press the end of the blanket down behind the top of the shoulders a little bit. Good. When you feel settled there, find a comfortable position for the arms. I like to wiggle the shoulders toward each other. And then land here. This pose, after the work that we did with the heart opening earlier in the class, it can sometimes feel a little bit vulnerable. So if you want to come back to this practice another time, or if you have something handy and you want to weight your chest or your abdomen a little bit to add an element of grounding, that could feel really lovely right now. As I guide you with a few words, we'll emphasize the grounding aspect of this pose and feeling at ease in our bodies as we land. So sensing the four walls around you. Bring a full awareness to the room that you're in. And then bring your entire awareness into your body. with a full breath, expand the body from head to fingers to toes. On your exhale, give in to gravity. Be held by the support of the props below you. Each exhale, your body dissolves, becoming heavier and heavier. Imagining that you could feel the bright sunlight beaming in, illuminating and warming your face, your heart. Penetrating the internal organs, nourishing in and around and between and behind all of the body systems. Bringing you into vibrant health, illuminated like the sun. As you feel the warmth and luminosity of the sun, you also feel the surface below you like a soft, warm, sandy beach. And all the billions of teeny tiny particles of sand have created this supportive mold that holds and connects the back of your body, the tissues expand and dissolve and rest into the sand. Nourished equally by these granules connected to the soil, all the way deep down to the core of Mother Earth. And at the same time, the heavens beam their light to shine in you, luminous one. Opening your heart to the goodness in yourself. As you deepen into your own divinity, you recognize more and more the divinity in every living being around you. Your true, essential nature, that which is eternal and everlasting. I invite you to rest here as long as you feel guided. And if you're drifting towards sleep, let that be okay. Give yourself permission to rest. I'm here for you. I care for you. May all beings be happy. May all beings be healthy. May all beings ride the waves of our lives. May all beings live in peace, no matter what we are given. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Peace, peace, peace. Namaste. Be gentle with yourself today. Please be in touch if you have any feedback about your practice, how you're doing, and I'm taking requests. So if there is a type of practice that you're needing right now, I'd be happy to come up with something that would suit what's going on for you right now. So be well. I'm signing off, and I will see you again tonight or tomorrow.